Over the past few years, there have been a plethora of adult animated series that all vary in tone and style. Some shows go for more slice of life style, some shows go for more comedic style, some go for more sci-fi style, some go for more dramatic style, and others can just be very bad. Nowadays, it seems like every adult animated series is trying so hard to be the next Family Guy, having offensive humor, trying to shock people, and even having the same animation style. Sometimes it can work when handled by competent writers and showrunners, but most of the time it can end up being very unfunny and just hard to watch. I'm not saying that all modern adult cartoons are bad. Some of my favorite cartoons of all time were made for adults. Shows like BoJack Horseman, The Simpsons, Final Space, and Close Enough can really show off just how great adult cartoons can be. But in my opinion, there is one cartoon that I personally believe is a fantastic example of an adult animated comedy series done right. A series that's been in countless controversies and continues to offend and anger people to this very day. And yes, I'm of course talking about none other than South Park. Now, almost everyone and their parents has either watched South Park in the past or has heard about it in one form or another, but in case you haven't, I'll fill you in. South Park is an adult animated comedy series that airs on Comedy Central, created by Matt Stone and Trey Parker. They both came up with the idea for South Park way back in 1992 from a short film they both created while at college called The Spirit of Christmas. The film itself is a bit rough around the edges and kind of looks like shit, but it was clearly made as a joke. But this film would definitely lay the groundwork for what would become South Park. But then 3 years later in 1995, a friend of theirs named Brian Graydon commissioned the two of them to make a short film as a video Christmas card. This short film was also titled The Spirit of Christmas, but people just call it Santa vs. Jesus, and it is definitely more refined than the previous short. The character designs of the main four boys are basically the same as they are in the current series, and the character traits and personalities here are also sorta similar with a few differences, but the humor is definitely more offensive than the previous short, and lines into what South Park would become.
Yeah, Hanukkah sucks. Don't you oppress me, fat boy! Don't call me fat, buttfucker! Then don't belittle my people, you fucking fat ass! Ah, damn it! Don't call me fat, you buttfucking son of a bitch!
Now, as you can tell, the animation for both of these shorts are kind of bad. They were animated with construction cutout paper, and they used stop motion to bring these to life. You can definitely tell that these were animated with construction paper, since the newer short is still very messy and crude. But Matt and Trey were the only animators for these shorts, so they weren't going to be Pixar quality. But after they worked on The Spirit of Christmas, the short went sort of viral online, with lots of people finding it to be hilarious. It got so popular that 20th Century Fox wanted to make it a full series, but there were some disagreements between Matt, Trey, and Fox, so they both decided to bring their idea over to Comedy Central, which was a relatively small channel at the time. The network ordered a pilot episode, that episode being Cartman Gets an Anal Probe. They animated the pilot similar to how they animated the previous shorts, with construction cutout paper. The pilot episode took over 3 months to make, and once it aired on the 17th of August 1997, it was an immediate success. Some people didn't like it that much, mainly Karens and boomers, but most people loved it, finding it to be hilarious. So Comedy Central ordered a run of 6 episodes. Now, with how time consuming and annoying the cutout animation was, the team decided to use computer animation to animate the show, which was a relatively new form of animation at the time. This would prove to be a very fast and efficient way to animate the show, since nowadays, each episode of South Park takes less than a week to create, which is insane to me. Now that we got the general history of the show out of the way, let's talk about the show itself and why after all of these years, it is still one of the best adult animated series out there. Also, spoilers in case you haven't seen the series yet, but like, it's South Park. Everyone has seen it by now. Now, the basic plot for South Park is pretty simple. The main characters in the show are 4 friends named Eric, Stan, Kenny, and Kyle. They all live in South Park, a snowy mountain town located in Colorado. The show takes on a more slice of life vibe in the earlier episodes, with the 4 main boys just getting into random situations and getting into loads of trouble. But in later seasons, they would go for a more serialized story which had mixed results, let's just say. But for the most part, it focuses on the main 4 boys and the other characters around South Park. Now, what makes South Park so memorable and recognizable? Well, let's get into why I believe South Park is one of the best adult animated series of all time, and why it is so beloved. Now, first things first, let's talk about the biggest and most controversial aspect of the show, the humor. South Park is known for having incredibly dark and offensive humor. The humor was pretty tame in its earlier seasons, with the creator Matt Stone claiming that it was basically like Yo Gabba Gabba.
Do you think you could have done this episode like if this was season 2, or do you think that you would have gotten?
No. This show wouldn't, no. Like, you go look at season 2 or season 1 and it's so tame. It's like Yo Gabba Gabba by comparison to what we do now.
They mainly went for crude humor like fart jokes, but as the show would continue, the creators would become more comfortable with doing whatever they want in terms of humor and writing. The comedy and jokes here are straight up hilarious. Most of the humor comes at the expense of whoever they're making fun of. The show is at its best when they're making fun of celebrities and real life events, in my opinion. Currently they have made some episodes and specials about the COVID-19 pandemic, and they were able to take a serious issue like the pandemic and make it hilarious to watch. And like I said earlier, they are not afraid to rip into celebrities here. Just think of any random celebrity and South Park has probably made fun of them. Sometimes it can be in a positive light, but most, if not all the time, they are the butt of the joke. Celebrities like Phil Collins, Bono, Michael Bay, Tom Cruise, John Travolta, Barbra Streisand, and for some reason, Saddam Hussein? I don't think he's a Celebrity Watch mojo. But my favorite celebrity roast in the entire series has to be Kanye West. I don't want to spoil anything since the episode he's in is genuinely amazing, but if you have seen the episode, you know exactly what I'm talking about and how hilarious his depiction is. Sometimes when they are feeling daring, they take jabs at religions. One of my favorite episodes in the entire series has to be Trapped in the Closet. Not only do they make fun of Scientology throughout the entire episode, but they have this running joke about Tom Cruise, John Travolta, and R. Kelly being stuck in the closet and refusing to come out of the closet.
I'm gonna give you count to 3 to open this closet door. 1, I'm gonna shoot you both. 2, I'm gonna cap some bitch free. Now I'm in the closet.
I heard that apparently Tom Cruise was furious with his depiction in this episode, but I don't care. I still found it hilarious. But they don't just make fun of random people or real life events. They take simple and basic plots, like for example, Cartman wanting an iPad, and somehow turn it into a parody of the Human Centipede, or this big 3-parter where it's about everyone's imaginations being attacked by terrorists. Plotlines like these show how creative the writers can be when coming up with these episodes. They have the balls to do whatever they want in an episode and just go crazy. Sometimes they can go a little too far when they make fun of someone, like in that one episode where they depicted the Prophet Muhammad and got in trouble with a terrorist group, which was an interesting story to say the least.
A radical Muslim group warns the creators of South Park, Matt Stone and Trey Parker, they could face violent retribution for depicting the Prophet Muhammad on their comedy show. On the website revolutionmuslim.com, an article says of Matt Stone and Trey Parker, quote, "They will probably wind up like Theo Van Gogh for airing this show."
But I wouldn't go off and say that Matt and Trey are terrible and offensive people. The characters in the show are offensive and the entire show is built on black humor. The dark humor present here is genuinely just amazing. You don't see much shows like these anymore, since shows nowadays are much more tame. So it's really great to see a show like South Park just going all out with their humor and going insane. They did kind of become more political in their later seasons, which caused a lot of controversy, but personally I love the political stuff. It was hilarious. Now, to talk more in depth about the series, I of course have to talk about the characters. First, we've got the 4 main boys. There's Kenny, the quiet one who used to always die in the earlier episodes, but they stopped killing him off all the time, and he later just became the 4th friend of the group who no one understands, and is very poor. There's Kyle, the Jewish friend who always gets fed up with everyone's behavior. There's Stan, who is the more sensible and reasonable friend of the group. And finally there's Eric Hartman. He is sort of the asshole of the group who no one really likes. He's also committed some small crimes here and there, like murder, prostitution, vandalism, manslaughter, enforced suicide, animal abuse, attempted murder, and genocide, enforced cannibalism, assault, smuggling, drug possession, armed robbery, arson, hate crimes, terrorism, war crimes, and child abuse. So yeah, Cartman has done some really silly things, hasn't he? Now, if you couldn't tell from the description, the main 4 characters are sort of shallow. Don't get me wrong, they can have some really great character moments, especially with their family, but they keep the characters pretty simple, which I personally really like, although I would have liked it if Kenny wasn't so bland. I do really like Kenny as a character, but most of the time he just sits in the background and muffles. On a rare occasion he does have a genuine purpose to the plot, but that's very rare.
Wow. This is mine?
But the friendship between the four boys is one of my favorite aspects of the entire show. Just them hanging out together and annoying each other is great to watch. They don't even really like each other that much. The boys hate Eric Cartman so much, and Cartman consistently makes fun of them for different reasons, whether it be Kenny being poor or Kyle being Jewish. But they still stay friends. Realistically, this friend group would probably fall apart if this was real life, but here it is genuinely hilarious to watch, and it sort of feels real as well. Groups of friends, especially younger kids, tend to rip into each other and poke fun at each other. Of course, here it is really exaggerated, like I highly doubt friends would kill each other, but you do sort of get the idea that they care for each other. And there's not just the main four boys, there are a plethora of side characters here. First of all, we got the families of the four boys. They get equal if not more screen time of the boys, mainly the dads like Gerald Broflovski and Randy Marsh. I know a lot of people aren't the biggest fan of the families, especially Randy, but personally I really enjoy it when an episode focuses on them. Sure, they did overuse Randy with Integrity Farms, but I still really enjoy these characters. You get the sense that they genuinely love and care for the main characters. It isn't a toxic or shitty family relationship like in Family Guy. There are glimpses of a real family that talk to each other and act like real families. It can even get somewhat emotional sometimes with the family moments here, since they handle these topics very well. There's even this really great relationship between Kyle and his younger brother Ike, who was adopted from Canada. Kyle of course does make fun of Ike all the time for being adopted, but you can definitely get the sense that he cares for Ike so much.
Ike, it's time. I don't know if I'm strong enough to go through with this, but it's the only way now.
I know.
Just remember, I always loved you, little brother.
I love you too, big brother.
Like I said, the writers do a fantastic job handling family drama and emotions while also being comedic and funny. And there are so many other side characters here that have great interaction with the boys and can leave an impact on the plot. Like Butters, who is more often than not the punching bag and can easily get manipulated by the others. I always end up feeling really bad for Butters here. He's a very wholesome and nice character, yet he always gets pushed around, mainly by his parents who always end up grounding him in his room. And Cartman is always seen taking advantage of Butters. It goes to show how dark the show can be with how it treats certain characters. Also, there are some love interests for the main four boys. Most love interests are usually in an episode or two, but some become main characters in the show. Of course, the main love interest is Wendy Testenberger, who is the love interest for Stan. She was in the first episode and is still a big part of the series. She isn't a deep character or a particularly great character at all, but she does have her moments and her friendship with Stan can be really great. Then there is Heidi, who is Cartman's girlfriend in the later seasons of the show. I find her character to be very interesting. In the beginning, she seems to be a great kid, someone who is nice and caring, but when she starts dating Cartman, we begin to see an incredibly toxic relationship start to grow. Eric is of course a terrible person and starts to manipulate Heidi and just become a shitty boyfriend. The toxic relationship causes Heidi to become an asshole and an unpleasant person. It's genuinely really sad, but can also be interesting to see how Eric Cartman can affect people in his life. And there are so many other side characters here that I could talk about for ages, like Token, Jimmy, Timmy, Chef, Mr. Garrison, Mr. McKay, PC Principal, and so many other characters. All the characters here are fantastic and a ton of fun to watch. If I were to pick a favorite, I would have to go with Cartman. He's such a terrible and awful person, yet it adds to his character. Plus, most of the shitty things he does, he always gets called out for it, and it's established that everyone at school hates him, so seeing him do awful things and getting shit for it is really great to watch. Also, something that I find really cool is that Matt and Trey voice a lot of the main characters here. The cast for South Park is very limited. This is somewhat common with animation, but seeing these guys voice so many characters and it being almost unnoticeable is crazy.
There can't be anything in that agreement that allows a company to do what they're talking about to Kyle. Hold up, here it is right here.
Matt and Trey are very dedicated to South Park. Ever since the beginning, they've remained the sole writers, producers, and directors for the show, which goes to show how much dedication and love they have for their craft. But it's not only the characters and humor that makes this show so iconic. A major reason the show is so memorable is the animation and art style. Now let's be real here, this show does not look good, but at the same time it also looks amazing. Hear me out. The simplicity of the animation and design here has a certain charm to it. While it is messier in the older episodes, they refine the animation and clean it up a lot in the later seasons. They are also able to implement some very fluid and great looking animation sequences here that look amazing. Also keep in mind, but every episode of this show is made in under a week, around 3 to 6 days. For a weekly animated TV series, that is insane. Most animated series take over months or even up to a year to complete. So the fact that they're able to produce these high quality episodes within such a short time period is just amazing. But you can easily tell where they cut corners for time and money. Like the characters don't even move their legs when walking, they just kind of hover all over the place. And look at these Canadian motherfuckers, their heads just move up and down when talking. But yes, the animation here isn't fantastic, but I appreciate the crude designs and how charming, yet weird it looks. Also, I'd like to briefly talk about the music here. The music present in South Park is very recognizable and has a great sound to it. They sometimes have songs and they are amazing. Trey Parker is really talented with music, and you can tell. In the show, they did a cover of Poker Face by Eric Cartman, and it's honestly 10 times better than the original song. Recently, to promote the 25th season, they've been doing these amazing orchestra renditions of the songs. Apart from it being really funny to see these talented singers play these weird songs, the music is just genuinely really good.
Cause I know that I'm a gay fish. Gay fish, gay fish, yo. Motherfucking gay fish. I'm a fish, yo. Going on a gay fish. It's alright, girl. Making love to other gay fish. Gay fish,
Now with the huge success of fuck. Now with the huge success of fuck. Now with the huge success of fuck. Now, the huge success of South Park, there were bound to be spin-offs and other properties made. Of course, there was an abundance of merchandise going around, but the show's big break was with the movie, South Park, Bigger, Longer, and Uncut. That's a penis joke. The film was released only 2 years after the series premiered. I won't go too in depth about the film, since I plan to separately talk about the film in the future, but the film is essentially about a war between America and Canada starting, all because of some offensive film, and parents getting pissed off about it. It's an amazing film, and one of my favorite TV to film adaptations. The film is also a musical, and all the songs here are fantastic, but since YouTube is a load of shit when it comes to music, I can't play it unfortunately. But please listen to the music from the film, it is genuinely amazing, and one of my personal favorite animated musicals of the 90s. Also, there has been a plethora of South Park video games released ever since the show debuted. Most of the old South Park games seem decent enough, although Matt and Trey had next to no involvement with these games, and they weren't even really a fan of South Park having video games in the first place. But then Matt and Trey would team up with Ubisoft to create South Park based video games. So far we got South Park The Stick of Truth and South Park The Fractured Butthole. These games are received very well by critics and audiences. I haven't played these games yet, but they look like a ton of fun, and I cannot wait to see more from South Park and what they have in store for the future.
You can't come to school with me. Yeah, go home, you little dildo.
What are you doing to my balls? Oh, look! It's Kyle sucking my balls!
Huh? Go ahead, Mom, fuck me! Fuck me right here in the best bag! You wanna fuck your son so bad? Go on, Mom, fuck me!
Hey, Ike, get out of my room, Kyle! I'm playing trucks!
Stan? Daddy wants to have a little talk, Stan. Danny boy! I'm going down south, I'm gonna have myself a time.
Friendly faces everywhere, humble folks without temptation.
Now in conclusion, most people believe that South Park is just some bland and generic adult comedy series with crude and offensive humor. And that is partially true. There is so much more to the show. It does have its fair share of crude humor, and it's primarily a dark comedy series. But when you look closer, there is so much more to enjoy here. This show is so good when it comes to handling serious and even somewhat emotional themes. They never feel forced in or annoying. They feel so real and genuine and makes you forget that this is meant to be a comedy series. The characters aren't just some generic assholes who have no morals. They all have feelings and emotions and do a fantastic job on expressing these emotions. I wish people didn't pass this off as a generic animated adult comedy series, since there are so many fantastic and dramatic character moments. Besides the character drama, the series is a fantastic comedy series. The way they rip into real life events and also being able to stay fresh and funny is great. I laughed so hard at so many jokes in the show. Sure, there is some lowbrow humor here and there, mainly fart jokes, but sometimes they can make fart jokes funny. Somehow. Even the shitty animation adds to how great this show is. As of recording this, South Park is about to reach its 25th season, and there are so many big plans for the series. Recently they released some specials based on the COVID-19 pandemic, and like I said earlier, they were amazing. Especially the most recent one, which honestly almost brought me to tears. It was so good. I am so excited to see what Matt and Trey have planned for the series, and I hope they can continue this for as long as they can. South Park has definitely left an impact on not only TV animation, but culture. If you haven't watched the show already, please do. It still airs on Comedy Central, and it's on a bunch of streaming services like Netflix and Amazon Prime. Remember to check out South Park, and also try not to get offended by the jokes in the show. Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed this video, hope you all have an amazing day, and I'll see you all in the next one. Goodbye.